Good afternoon and welcome to today's presentation, Tractor-Trailer Accident Investigation and Reconstruction. In today's webinar, Mr. Costanzo will discuss types of tractor-trailer collisions, important terms and concepts, speed calculations using skid marks and downloads, and federal and state rules. To give you a little background about our presenter, Frank Costanzo, he is a traffic accident reconstruction specialist that has worked on over 1,900 full-scale collision investigations and reconstructions. He is a certified court expert with more than 30 years of experience in collision investigations and reconstructions, scene documentation and diagramming, 3D laser scanning, truck and vehicle computer downloads, and forensic vehicle inspections. Attendees who require a passcode, the word for today is trailer. During the Q&A session, we'll ask that you enter this passcode into the Q&A widget for CLE reporting purposes. The Q&A is located to the left of your screen. Please remember that if you're applying for CLE credit, you must log onto your computer as yourself and stay for the full 60 minutes. You are also required to complete the survey at the end of the program. Tomorrow morning, we will send out an email with a link to the archive recording of the webinar. The slides can be downloaded from the resource list to the left of your screen. We will also be using video today. If you are unable to see the video, they are available to download from the resource list. Thank you all for attending today, and Frank, the presentation is now turned over to you.
I want to thank everybody for attending the webinar. It's my CLE program called Tractor-Trailer Accident Investigation Reconstructions. I want to encourage anybody that has a question regarding any of the slides. I'll be glad to help you out. Just post them and we'll see what we can do. And if we can't get to you during the webinar, I'd be glad to answer any questions afterwards too. The webinar is going to be broken into a lot of video clips, and the videos usually have a story that's worth telling. And let's get started. This is a staged collision of a medium-duty truck colliding into passenger cars. This was actually staged in Germany. And I want you to look at the frontal view of the tractor-trailer collision. The reason why I show this in my CLE programs is you don't have to be. In this area in Pennsylvania where I'm located, in foul weather conditions, we have stopped traffic often on interstates, 81, 80. And when we have tractor-trailer collisions, the reason why you don't have to be the first vehicle in line to be the seriously hurt one. I want to show you one more time the videos. Look at the third vehicle in line. Of course, the first vehicle is going to get crushed. This vehicle probably weighs about, striking vehicle probably weighs about 45,000 pounds. But I want you to look at the frontal view and look at the third vehicle. Even the third vehicle, the second vehicle, sustained serious contacts. Now, when we're in a plaintiff situation, there's multiple plaintiffs. Sometimes there's limited liability coverage. When we're in the defense situation, we know we're going to be dealing with multiple claimants for the tractor-trailer, and we just have to deal with that. As shown by the video, this is the reason why we have to show the videos first. It's kind of limitations of the webinar, but the tractor-trailers, they can't stop in an unforeseen situation that arises on highways. We're going to talk about stopping distances of tractor-trailers, and I'll talk about the kind of the history of the following pattern of tractor-trailers. So when we get a situation, we're going to have multiple collisions. This is just a simple collision, a car crossing over and hitting a truck and kind of rotating off. And in general, years ago, given this maybe 10 years ago, there would be really limited information we'd be able to get from this collision. We wouldn't really be able to reconstruct the speed of the striking car. We wouldn't really be able to derive a speed for the truck. Now, as we talk in this presentation, there are different methods of being able to derive speeds from cars, speeds from trucks, that kind of curtail the skid mark type of traditional accident reconstructions we have with tractor-trailer collisions. this is an interesting topic, and some people don't understand this too, and we could talk about it. This was a case I did a while ago in New Jersey Turnpike in my area. This was one of my cases, a very old case, but my client is the car underneath the tractor trailer. And the story behind this collision is that the person, it's a really dark roadway, New Jersey section of New Jersey Turnpike. The tractor trailer driver was unaware that anything was in his lane, and according to his testimony, and he collided with the back of my client. He got out of his truck, and actually at some point got out of the truck, walked around, and really didn't realize what he struck for a while. So let's talk about this, kind of this scenario, and get an idea of stopping distances of tractor trailers. A fully loaded tractor trailer is traveling 55 miles in a dark, unlit, dry roadway when a disabled car appears in his lane. How much distance will it require for a tractor trailer to come to a complete stop? And as a process of this, I want you to come up with a number, and we'll talk about what the actual number is to get a. So right now, in your mind, try to get a number you think it's going to take this tractor trailer to stop at 55 miles an hour. Well, when we talk about total stopping distances, we talk about it's broken up into two areas: perception reaction distance and the total braking distance. Perception reaction distance, people who do this for a living may know this concept, but let me kind of tell everybody in this webinar what it is. A perception reaction distance is the time that it takes your mind to perceive and react to a situation. And during the day, the average you hear 1.5 seconds, 1.6 seconds, and at night it's commonly increased to about 2.5. Now, the concept is, why is it increased from 1.5 to 2.5? Well, the best explanation I can give you is this area where I live is the deer that jumps out on the roadway. During a daytime situation, when a deer jumps on the roadway, you perceive and react. You see the deer, you recognize the deer as a hazard, and you complete that perception reaction phase. That the next phase is I better try to do something to avoid the collision. At night, you don't have the visual acuity of that deer in the roadway. You may say, there's something gray in the roadway, and then you realize it's a deer, and then you try to perceive and react, you try to avoid it. That perception delay increases the total perception reaction time to 2.5 seconds. And we'll talk about total braking distances of tractor. When we talk about total braking distances, what we're talking about is the distance required for a tractor trailer to skid to a stop at a certain speed. So as we talked before, daytime perception reaction is 1.6, nighttime is 2.7. And we talked about the concept of perception reaction. I can tell you my experience in this field, if you're dealing with a plaintiff's report and you're reading a plaintiff's report and the nighttime conditions are completely dark and the person uses a 1.6 seconds, it's actually wrong, but there's usually a reason behind why that person is using 2.6 seconds. The nighttime should be used at 2.5. There's some conditions where you don't use 2.5 if you're following brake lights and you can see illuminated, headlights, something like that. But on a situation where you cannot see an object and you have to wait till you get closer to the object, the nighttime perception reaction would be 2.5. So let's go over the calculation for 55 miles an hour. 55 miles an hour, a person's going 80.63 feet per second, times 2.5 because it happened at night. The distance, the perception reaction, the distance that it takes your mind to perceive and react to a situation behind a tractor-trailer situation is 201 feet. My experience in testifying in court is people have problems with understanding distances, and I think anybody who does this attorney-wise know that. So the best correlation I can give a jury is a football field, which is 300 feet. They seem to understand that correlation when we talk about football fields. So 201 feet, half of a football field is 150. So they will understand it takes more than a half of a football field for a tractor-trailer driver going at 55 miles an hour to perceive and react to a situation. Well, at 55 miles an hour to brake to a stop, it takes 180 feet. And I just want you to look at this picture because this will be some discussion later. And I can go back to the slide. It's slide 16. But I want you to view these skid marks that I have. Well, they're tire marks. Tire marks I have annotated by an arrow, and we'll have a discussion about them. And anybody who does this field, it's kind of weird not having people in front of you answering questions, but we'll discuss what those types of marks are usually made from in a tractor-trailer situation. So let's look at the total stopping distance. It's 381 feet. It's way more than a football field. So here's the situation. If headlight visibility of a tractor extends, for instance, let me give you 150 feet, and a perception reaction distance is 200 feet. Well, that person won't be able to perceive and react to the headlight visibility to an unseen object. They never will. In fact, probably no one would ever be able to do that in that scenario I just gave you. That term is called no escape. No escape is a situation where the person won't have the ability to conduct any kind of avoidance maneuver. He won't even be able to complete his perception reaction phase. So the reason why these stopping distances are interesting is I just can relay a deposition testimony I read a long time ago, made an impact to me. There was two tractor-trailer drivers driving in line, front and rear. One guy in the front, one guy in the rear. They both worked for the same company. And the guy in the rear, they were taking his deposition, and they were talking about Stevens' rule and following distances and how much distance it would take him to a stop. And I believe he said the number, he said, I think it's going to take me about 200 feet to come to a stop. Well, they asked the person, how far were you traveling behind the tractor trailer in front of you? He says, I was probably maybe 3 car lengths, maybe 50 feet. So they asked him the following information. They said, would you agree you're driving recklessly? You wouldn't be able to come to a stop if there was an unseen emergency. He said, yes, I agree to that fact. And he says, Stevens' rule, the following distances, and he acknowledged everything that they said about following too closely. But his statement was the following as a follow-up. He says, we follow each other in a situation where we're trying to be as safe as possible. And if we let vehicles come in between us, then according to any kind of rule, I would have to fall back. And as soon as I fall back from the vehicle that just turned in, another vehicle comes in my way. And according to the federal rules, I have to go back again. So we keep going back and decelerating. So we feel like if we keep a close following distances, then we won't have cars pulling in between us. Well, I understand his explanation, but the problem is that if there's an unavoidable event that happens, a tire on the roadway, a vehicle loses control, tractor-trailers need large amounts of distances to stop. They need more than a football field to stop. And in general, when we talk about vehicles following each other on interstate highways, I mean, you don't have to be an accident expert to know driving on 995 on an interstate, people aren't following a half a football field away. So that's the scenario that we get. It's interesting because when you ask a tractor-trailer driver, where's the safest position for someone to be in regards to their vehicle, they routinely say in back of them. And I hope after this CLE presentation we have that you're going to realize that that's a kind of a self-serving statement, that you're going to realize for us, for our families, for ourselves, that probably in the back of the tractor trailer is the safest spot. So we know that they cannot stop. We know that the distances are pretty great. So if you're driving in front of a tractor trailer and you have to come to a stop for some unknown reason, some unavoidable reasons, and there's a tractor trailer traveling behind you, you're in a situation where it could be very dangerous unless the tractor trailer is more in the football field behind you. Took a long time to find this vehicle. This term, when you see a tractor trailer with just a tractor, is a term called bobtailing. This is the old conventional kind of tractor trailer we don't see on the road very often anymore. A couple of reasons. One is they don't have sleeper berths, but they just kind of got outdated by new designs and new tractor trailer designs. But this is an interesting tractor trailer because when this type of situation occurs, it's really dangerous. It's a bobtail, and whenever you see a bobtail situation on the roadway, my advice is to basically try to stay clear of the bobtail. And let's talk about why bobtailing happens. Bobtailing usually happens, not all the time, but my experience is when we have sole operators of tractors that are hauling independent trailers for people. And the explanation I give in this area is that Harrisburg in Pennsylvania area is probably about 3 hours away from Philadelphia, and Philadelphia in the opposite, it's east is 3 hours, and from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh is about 5.5 hours. So let me give you a scenario. Someone who's in Harrisburg gets a call and says he's an owner-operator of a tractor, that he needs to pick up a trailer from Harrisburg and pick it up in Philadelphia and bring it to Pittsburgh. Well, when he drives from Harrisburg to Philadelphia, he's bobtailing. When he gets the trailer and he takes the trailer from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh, he's fine. He has pretty good braking capabilities. Everything's working correctly. He goes up, he drops it off in Pittsburgh, but from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, he's bobtailing again. And the reason why bobtailings are kind of dangerous is when a tractor on this type of situation goes under heavy braking, the weight shift will actually pull the axle 2 and axle 3 completely off the road. And what we do is we have this unit trying to be stopped by 2 brakes, the front axle. So these 2 lift up. So we're getting about 20%, 10 to 20% braking capabilities of a bobtail. So when we talk about tractor trailer stopping in football field with 80%, you can see how these objects would take 2 football fields or even more to come to a stop, and they're really dangerous. We don't see them that often. Logistics-wise, big companies try to eliminate bobtailings by having keep picking up trailers at different locations, but bobtailing in general is a dangerous type of scenario. This is just a little kind of analysis. A tractor trailer pulling a semi-trailer has 10 brakes comprising of about 80% braking, 70 to 80% braking. That's the whole capability of a fully functionable tractor trailer combination. We have situations where we've seen where there's trailer brake problems, and they're related to air hoses, they're air brake systems, and we have air hose leaks. We have situations where the trailer's brakes aren't working at all. So when we have trailer brakes, we'll reduce the braking efficiency 48% if it has no brakes on the trailer. So for instance, that would increase a braking distance from fully functionable from 180 feet to having serious problems to a football field. The question is asked, does a person know? I have a forensic mechanic. He's a great forensic mechanic. He's also a highly skilled CDL operator. And he makes the comment to me when we do forensic inspections of tractor trailers that when there's a serious problem with a trailer as far as no brakes, his feeling is they can make an argument whatever they want to, whether there should be warnings or audible warnings or a walk-around inspection. Should he detect a door in a walk-around inspection? The fact of the matter is he will know by operating that tractor trailer, by the braking problems he has, he will know there's a problem on the tractor trailer. When we have in Pennsylvania's CDL manual, people make an argument too that they do a walk-around inspection and say there's a problem with the braking system. They may make an argument that, well, it takes two people to really detect this braking problem. It takes a person in the tractor applying the brakes, and he's by himself. How would he know? Well, that is covered under the pre-driving aspect of the CDL manual in Pennsylvania, where they're supposed to do what they're supposed to do is apply the trailer brakes fully, take off the tractor brakes, pull, accelerate to see if the trailer is dragging. And if the only like 10, 15 feet, but if the trailer is not dragging and is just moving forward, then they know there's a problem with the brakes. That's the argument that's taken when there's one driver that he has to do that test before he leaves, and if he does that test, he'll know there's something wrong with the trailer brakes. I think we talked about this before, the limited ways to conduct speed analysis, that we can't conduct momentum analysis. We can't really, so we're really going to have some kind of discussion on what kind of downloads and information we have now available for tractor trailers to actually get a speed from them. Remember the slide we talked about before and you saw the those marks on the roadway? There's an interesting conversation we take place. And if I asked a group full of people, what stops quicker, a fully loaded trailer or an empty trailer? And I'd say 75% of people really say that a fully loaded trailer would need more distance. But in reality, that's really not true in some cases. Those marks I was showing you back on that, let me see if I can go back here with 20. Can we do this one? No, I'd have to go all the way back. They're called jump skids. And what happens in trailers when they're empty, when the tractor applies brakes, heavy brakes, and the trailer starts to brake, it actually fully starts to bounce on the roadway. So when it's bouncing, it does that jump skid type of thing. Well, in jump skids, the trailer's not generating 100, full braking capabilities. So when we're comparing that jump skid type of situation will not occur if it's fully loaded. The weight keeps the trailer connected to the roadway, touching the roadway. So they basically kind of offset, to be honest with you. When we do tests, there really is very kind of little difference between stopping of a fully loaded tractor trailer and a tractor trailer that's empty and experiences this jump skid type of scenario.
Oh, happy day! Happy day! Oh, happy
can't hear the video. This is a drive. I wanted to show you that the side. This is a tractor trailer that flips. I'll show you the video twice. We already just talked about a situation where we're in front of a tractor trailer and they have problems stopping. Now we're dealing with a situation where you're on the side of a tractor trailer. This is probably a little bit of excessive speed, maybe a little weight shift, maybe probably loading. But you can see if you're on the side of the tractor trailer, this type of event is very dangerous too. So we know being in front of them is not really safe. And we know kind of being on the side can cause serious issues too. I'll show you a couple more videos. I wish you could hear the videos for these. So, usually when we're dealing with load shift causing loss of control, it usually happens while rounding curves and changing lanes or turning. Load shift increases. The load shift increases as the speed increases. We're going to talk about federal rules in regards to security of a load. But this may be a good time to discuss this too, because when we have a situation where a tractor trailer driver, is driving interstate from state to state, he picks up a trailer, and the trailer is padlocked. Well, the reason why the trailer is padlocked is really security reasons. If it's an enclosed van type of trailer, they don't want the driver, and honestly, the driver doesn't want to be hit with the type of charge that he's stealing either, so they padlock or seal the trailer. Well, when the driver picks up the trailer, he doesn't have a way of really verifying whether the load is secured enough. It's really the duty of the person who owns the trailer and the duty of the person who loaded the trailer. In our state, in Pennsylvania, when they are stopped by a Pennsylvania trooper, Pennsylvania is allowed to cut the seals, inspect the load, and reseal it. They have the police authority to do it. But in general, the drivers won't have access to the load. So when we have a load shift situation, I believe this one coming up.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. This big rig is in big trouble.
This is another kind of load shift coming down probably going a little too fast. I like this, the guy.
A traffic cam captures the semi as it rolls over on the freeway. The truck hits the turn at such a high rate of speed, its 14-ton payload shifts to one side, causing it to topple. Remarkably,
This was an interesting case when we talked. Some people believe that load shift can cause, only happens at high speeds on interstate highways. This was an older case up in the Philadelphia airport. The tractor-trailer driver is coming, and he's going to make, according to all eyewitness testimonies, he came to a red light. He must have turned it like 5 miles an hour, and he actually rolled his trailer. And when the load was inspected, the load was not secured, was not strapped down. So in this case, even at a low speed, giving a load shift, swinging loads, you can have a trailer roll over in that case. Before we get into technology and information and DDEC downloads and stuff, are there any questions?
And could all the attendees please type the passcode into the Q&A feature? Our first question is, are multiple trailer trucks more likely to crash than single trailer trucks?
We have going on right now in Pennsylvania is the idea of tandem trailers. And tandem trailers, if everything's functioning properly, they basically should still have the 80% braking capabilities that a functioning tractor-trailer combination does. But when you're dealing with another trailer, my feeling is you're just dealing with another trailer that can have more issues. The question would be, it should stop in the same distance if there's no mechanical problems with the tractor-trailer combination.
Okay, the next question is, who oversees large truck safety in the U.S.?
Oh, that's the federal government. The federal government, we'll talk about federal rules, but the federal government, the Federal Motor Vehicle Carrier Association, they oversee basically the safe transportation of tractor trailers throughout the United States. And what happens is most of the states adopt the federal rules. So we'll do that. There's one of the last slides, but we'll talk about that. So the federal rule has the federal government has stepped up to make sure, because it's intertransport, it's from state to state. So the government has to oversee the whole transportation system within the United States. But states in themselves want to be able to enforce certain aspects, so they go ahead and adopt their own rules and regulations in regards to, for instance, like driving hours and stuff like that.
And do these rules apply to buses like motor coaches?
Yes, they do. They're exempt from, buses are exempt from keeping logs. They're called day trippers. If you leave if you leave and arrive back at the same location within a work hour, like 8-hour work hours, they're not going to require bus operators to keep logs, but bus operators on their CDL license, they all have to be CDL licensed. In fact, even smaller buses that carry, 20 people or so, there's little jitney buses. I don't know if you guys are down in Atlantic City area, but even little jitney buses have to be CDL operators. So the CDL operators are held to, the bus drivers are also CDL operators, so they're held to walk-around inspections. They're held to all the other standards and rules regarding CDL operators.
The person says, in my case, the vehicle came around the right side of a bus, higher rate of speed than the bus, and as it tried to overtake, the bus rammed into the van.
Okay. I don't know if that's a question, but, most tractor trailers, we'll talk about it, most tractor trailers have governors too. When we're dealing with governors, it seems like speeds of 65, 68 are common governor speeds I see on tractor trailers. So if a vehicle is coming from behind and starts to pass the tractor trailer, and the tractor trailer maybe changes lanes and doesn't see him and strikes the person as he's passing, that's more of an issue in regards to visibility of the spot mirrors and the side mirrors. Someone would have to go into the cab and do an analysis of whether a properly positioned mirrors, you're able to see a vehicle approaching from the side. My experience doing these tests, he should be able to see the vehicle passing before he does his lane change maneuvers.
And how much is that perception rate to brake formula affected by lack of sleep?
I don't really know of many correlations. There's all kinds of scenarios, like how does alcohol affect the perception reaction? How does you start seeing information out now is how texting affects perception reaction. I just read a report that said that, to me it seems a little high, but they're saying a perception reaction phase of someone who's texting is about 4.5 seconds, which when you do the math, I could do it here, but we're dealing like 3 more seconds of a normal perception reaction phase. To say at 55 miles an hour, we're talking almost another 300 feet that person's going to take if he's texting. Sleep deprivation, age, the elderly, 85 years old. We get so many distractions that are going on in cars right now. There's studies now that, I actually heard Mercedes-Benz is like talking about putting TVs that the driver, that people in the front can view, and there's so many more distractions now than there were about 15 years ago. But if you're looking for a firm number of how sleep deprives increases the perception reaction, that's really a kind of like a biomechanical expert, and I don't know of any correlation that does that.
Okay, the next question is, what are the consecutive hours of driving limitations by the federal rules? Are state rules different on that issue?
State rules are not different. Off-duty, on-duty, I'll direct you to the federal motor carrier rules and regulations. I don't know them on top of my head, but I also know that the requirements of them, I don't know if you've ever seen logs, but they're required to keep kind of like logs of their sleeping off-duty. What's considered off-duty, on-duty, you'll see definitions. If a person, tractor trailer operator, pulls in, and for our instance, I'll give you a scenario. He pulls in and he's waiting to get his trailer. That is really depends on what he's doing is considered off-duty. If he's having some active involvement, it's called on duty. So I'll direct you to the right federal standards. And my understanding is the states just adopt the federal rules. I was a federal investigator for 10 years, and I really don't know of any scenario where the state would be lesser than the federal government. And what I've seen going around and investigating cases throughout the United States, that if the only thing I see is the states get more strict than the federal government. I've never really seen a state be less than what's required by the federal government.
Okay, and a follow-up to that question, does perception and reaction time take into consideration how many hours a long-haul trucker is on the road?
It does not. It's just two numbers. We don't have a variation of numbers that we can select from. It's either, and these are both situations where a person is aware, that may be the wrong word, but it's just daytimes 1.5 and nighttimes 2.5. It doesn't take into consideration a fatigued tractor-trailer operator.
And how do you monitor driver's attentiveness? In other words, how to verify whether a driver has had adequate sleep?
Well, that goes through his driving logs. When you're a person, when you're in a case, my recommendation is you just don't get the driving logs of the person of the day he's involved in an accident. You have to get his driving history. You have to find out, 3 days prior to the collision exactly what he was doing. So, how do you monitor that? There's drive cam. I'll show you drive cam videos now that actually not only show the forward view. I just recently saw a drive cam video that actually shows the tractor-trailer driver in the seat, too. So there's technology now out that's trying to answer that question.
Okay, that's all the time we have for questions right now. We will have another Q&A at the end of the presentation, so please continue.
Okay, let's see if we can keep going here. Okay, there's a term, this is multi-state presentation, but in Pennsylvania, I'm sure it's very similar to other situations. We have a term called McSAP. It's a mechanical safety assistance program that the state police do. And in Pennsylvania right now, McSAP inspections are required for all fatals. And if it's a commercial vehicle, it has to go under a McSAP inspection. Years ago, probably 5 years ago, it wasn't really law. Right now it's law. And I have a case where I can give you the reason, this is the best explanation I can give you of why a McSAP inspection should be required. This was an older case. This was a fire truck. That was just the history of this case was this fire truck was bought out of state. It was brought into Pennsylvania. It went through the Pennsylvania state inspection protocol for bringing vehicles in state. Went through a garage. The garage inspected it, certified it, gave it Pennsylvania inspection certification. About a week after they bought the vehicle, 2 fire trucks are responding to a collision, going to a barn fire kind of in a rural area. And this vehicle came around a curve and rolled over and seriously injured both the drivers. And you can see the tire marks here. Well, the police investigation was they looked at the tire marks and they did a critical speed calculation and they said, well, he's going way too fast for the curve. Just kind of wrote it off as that. They didn't do a mechanical inspection on the fire truck. Well, we were hired pretty soon after the collision to go look at the fire truck. Brought my forensic mechanic. And, whoops, what happened to the other one? Oh, here it is. Hey, Emily, can you bring up slide 39?
Yes, we can. Okay, it should be on the screen now.
Okay, sorry about the out of order. I should have caught this, but this is what was saw with the fire truck itself. If you know anything about heavy vehicles, this suspension piece is called a leaf spring. And we could zoom in on this leaf spring. You can see that the leaf spring is fractured and it's actually rusted. And my mechanic said to me, Frank, this is visual. I walked up to it and I actually saw it first, and he said that's a fractured leaf spring. I made a comment that maybe they just, this wasn't required under the inspection, and as he gave me the inspection form, you can see in the section of the inspection form, they actually have to physically look at the leaf spring and check off to see if it's in good condition. Well, in this case, this vehicle comes around a curve, it's speeding, I agree, but it's unstable. It's leaning as it's coming around because it has a fractured leaf spring and it rolls over. So this was not a criminal case, it was a civil case, but it was an interesting civil case because the aspect of the case took a different turn because, we started to involve the body shop, we started to involve the person who sold the tractor trailer to this organization and didn't tell them there was a fractured leaf spring. So without a mechanical inspection, and if you just took the police kind of report for it, you would have said, oh, they're just speeding, it's their fault. So that's why McSAP inspections are required in Pennsylvania. If they're not required in your state, I would, find a forensic mechanic that can do McSAP inspections of cars, tractor trailers. The thing I wanted to tell you is that it's very, very important that the condition remains the same from the accident to the inspection time. And I've been doing this a long time. I understand the problems related to that. But if we can't get the vehicle in the same state, then it's hard to say that this type of fractured leaf spring was fractured at the time of the accident. If we want to look at this like a year later or 2 years later, someone would say, well, it rusted over the being exposed to weather, and it fractured in the accident. But since we weren't so close to the accident, then that's really not the type of argument that can be taken. Okay, Emily, go to 29, please.
Sure, should be on the screen now.
Okay, thank you. So keep that in mind for any more questions. We're going to talk about, we have some time here, we're going to talk about EDR downloads, some of the information we have associated now technology-wise to be able to download and derive information from trucks. Remember the first video I showed you where one of the first ones I showed you the car crossing over and it just hit the truck coming around the curve, and I said, there's really not much we can do nowadays before, like 15 years ago with this case. Now we can. This is electric data recorders, EDRs. They're called kind of different things. We can download trucks now and derive if I want to tell you right up front, I'll tell you the limitations of the thing and actually save you some money, or we'll talk about this. The EDR downloads of trucks can provide collision information. They're usually called like hard brake or last stop. You'll see it kind of different terms of the event itself. Now, you have to make sure a couple things. One is that the truck is in the same condition that it was at the time of the accident. And the reason why I say that is I can give you, this is what the module looks like. I took a module I was downloading from the truck. The tractor was really damaged. We downloaded it. The information you see on the right-hand side is actually the hard crash data. It goes back about a minute. It gives you speeds. It gives you accelerations. It gives you brake applications. So it gives you a history of basically what happened. I mean, a minute is a long time for an accident event. You don't need to go back there, but it can also tell you a lot about the travel of the accident. It's important that the tractor trailer is in the same condition and it hasn't been operated since the accident. And the reason why I'll tell you this is a hard brake application. Absent of car downloads are done by collision forces. Truck downloads are done by heavy brake application. So, and they usually record 2 to 3 hard brake applications. So let me give you a scenario why this is a problem sometimes. You have a situation where a tractor trailer is parked on the shoulder of the road. They may be illegally parked on the shoulder of the roadway. Someone comes, doesn't see it, crashes into the back of the trailer and kills himself. Well, in history tells me that what they'll do is they'll impound the vehicles that are damaged from the accident. So they'll impound the car, the striking car, and they'll impound the trailer. And then they'll go ahead and do a McSAP inspection on the trailer, and they'll let the tractor go. And there's reasons why that happens, but once that tractor leaves the scene, all that tractor has to do is really have a few hard brake applications in a couple days by the time you get to it, and the data will be erased. So when you're downloading this information, there's dates, there's times, so we have to be able to correlate the download to the collision date. We run into some problems where the clocks are wrong and the dates are wrong, but we know one thing: if a tractor trailer is in a collision and it's taken directly from the scene and it's put in a location and never used again, it doesn't really matter what the clocks and the odometers and all these error-filled variables are. We know it's the crash because it hasn't been used. So, and it's a hard brake. So if your tractor trailer does not go under a hard brake application in regards to a collision, like if you get a scenario where a tractor trailer person says, I'm driving down the roadway, I feel a bump, say a motorcycle hits them, and I just kind of pulled over the side of the roadway and then I saw it was a motorcycle, that's not a hard brake application. There won't be any information on that tractor. The VIN number on the tractor will tell us what kind of engine it has and what kind of data can be anticipated from that engine, but it can't fully guarantee the data until we download it. I've seen scenarios, and we just recently had scenarios where the VIN number didn't match up with the engine, and the reason was because they replaced the engine in a certain man. It was a 2002. They got a new engine on it, and the Detroit diesel wasn't there anymore. They replaced it with another engine. We can't prevent something like that, but you really can't verify the data unless you try to download it. And there's situations where all you're going to get is historical data. You won't get hard brake application. You'll just get kind of average historical data from the downloads. This is real-time tracking, Qualcomm. There's all kinds of out there. This is tracking that companies do for tractor trailers. They don't do it for our purpose. They don't say, hey, let's use the Qualcomm data to reconstruct a traffic accident. They do it to tractor trucks, make sure their deliveries are on time, but it's a GPS type of system where if you can get the Qualcomm data, it will tell you times like from point A to point B, it took them a certain amount of time. If you go out to the scene, you may be able to calculate a speed. So Qualcomm data is valuable information if you can get it. Companies don't keep Qualcomm data for long periods of time, so if you're going to wait 2 years and then send them something that says, I want all the Qualcomm data related to that collision, their response is going to be, we just don't keep it that long. So you need to kind of get them, if you're a plaintiff, get them a letter or defense, whoever it is. I do both plaintiff and defense work, but the Qualcomm data in general is not kept for a long period of time. We're dealing with situations where we have drive cam videos. Someone asked a question about a bus earlier. This is a bus video that's taken from a bus, and it does a few things that's interesting. One is it records the people inside the bus. Maybe not of great interest to you, but it's a security aspect. It shows you people departing the bus. It shows you the view usually from behind the truck, and it shows you the view in the front. So when we get these dash cam videos, it's important that you get them quickly. They're not kept forever, but if you get them and you're able to download them, sometimes, honestly, this was taken. I could give you your accident investigator probably knows it already, but what I can tell you is seems like drive cam videos have proprietary software a lot of times, and when you ask for the video, you'll get the video, but you'll have a hard time kind of getting the video to play. What I do in that situation, if I'm not quite sure I can I'll videotape the video on a monitor. So at least I know at the worst case scenario, I'll have a video of a video. In the best case scenario, I'll have a clean video. So that's kind of one way of getting that type of information. This is drive cam videos from tractor trailers. I told you, like, the drive cams actually show the drivers, but they also show the front of the tractor trailers. And when we deal with a situation, they're all kind of date and time stamped. When we do time kind of scenarios, if we have the right situation where a tractor trailer, for instance, passes a light and passes another object, you can go out, measure the distance, you can use a videotape to actually get speeds of tractor trailers. This was an accident that happened quite a long time ago, and I think what you're finding out, and I'll show you this twice, but this is a tractor trailer that turns, and my client was a plaintiff. She was a security guard. She's getting some information. The tractor trailer driver said he stopped for a few minutes, but you can say he just kind of waits a few seconds. You can see my former client, come and gets her foot run over. There she is. She gets her foot run over. The interesting thing about the tape is, I'll show you one more time. It's such an important aspect. Videotapes are such an important aspect right now. This was an important aspect of the case because the deposition of the tractor trailer driver just did not coincide with the videotape as far as what was saying. He said that the person went back, checked his trailer number, he was waiting there, and you can see obviously she didn't do any kind of those functions. This is an older case. And, just don't give up. I recently had a case in Philadelphia. I had a case in Lancaster in this area too, where you send your IT person out and he starts canvassing the area for videotapes. I had a collision downtown in Philly, and there was 5 videos of the collision. Now, the reason why the more videos, the better is you have to understand videos are not posted for outward to take a view of a roadway. They're security videos. So if it's a parking garage, they're going to show maybe one travel lane and the sidewalk, and 7-Eleven may show a little bit. So the more videos we have, the more we can piece together what happened in collisions. These, like for instance, 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven videos are, if they're saved for a week, I'd be surprised. They overwrite. So you got to get out there to get these videos quickly. This was the same view of the tractor trailer. In fact, when I had the videos, I was surprised how inconsistent the video was with his testimony. But even this, he gave testimony as far as where he was coming from and what he was doing, and that didn't even match up on the video. And, the videos tell the truth. I mean, I don't know of any way of really manipulating a video. Some people probably read too much in the videos once in a while. But this type of video, you can't argue. You know what happened in the collision. You can timestamp it, know how long he stopped, and he actually drove away from the scene. Wasn't really sure he hit her. Okay, we'll have like 7 minutes here. We'll take some time and we'll answer some more questions. We talked about state and federal rules mirror each other. The loading and unloading procedure, we'll talk about that. Pre-trip inspection. We talked about what's required by a tractor trailer operator as far as pre-trip inspections. You can see, when a police determines something to be out of service. When we deal with a situation where it's a brake problem, I think I explained to you that the different kind of arguments can be taken. But when we're dealing with tire problems, when we're dealing with situations where tires are bald and showing metal and defective and cracked, those types of situations can visually be seen in a walk-around inspection. And it doesn't take too many tires to be able to determine something to be out of service. So when you're dealing with tire problems and someone does a McSAP inspection, walks around, and the tractor trailer is in, bad, they're first going to look at the registration, see if it's registered, inspect it. If it's not inspected, they'll kind of raise some flags. They'll look farther. So when you deal with things that are just visually clear to a tractor-trailer operator. That's when we talk about pre-trip inspections, talk about keeping driving logs. I was told something, we'll talk about the duty of carrier. Driving logs are interesting. I've been doing this a while. I took a vacation up in Maine, and one of the guys driving me around in a bus taking a tour, I was talking to him, and I asked him what he did in a prior life, and he said, I was a tractor-trailer driver. I used to drive every day from Maine to New York to deliver lobsters. I'm like, well, that can't be legal. I'm just thinking about all the hours this guy drives day in and day out, and he's telling me it takes 12 hours. I knew he was way over the hours. So I made a comment to him like, oh, yeah, it must be difficult keeping logs. And he says, let me tell you something. He didn't know what I did for a living. He goes, I keep 3 sets of logs. I keep a set of logs for my company. I keep a separate log for the police, and I keep my own logs for my taxes. So there seems to be multiple hard copy logs floating around if you use ingenuity and dig into it a little bit. But a driver has to have the ability to present a log to a police officer when they stop them. And not usually, but in some situations, you get a tractor-trailer driver. He's involved in a fatal accident. He's sitting in his tractor. He realizes he's not up to date, and he tries to hurriedly kind of fill in his log. And you never really can do that correctly, and you find out that he filled in his log, and he went from New York to Pittsburgh in 3 hours. So you can have someone look at his driving logs. The duty of we'll talk about the duty of the carriers. We did McSAP. Let's talk about, we'll go back into that. And sometimes, this was a real serious accident I did in Philadelphia, and you can see the tractor-trailer just totally demolished. Well, you get someone who calls you, says, I want a inspection done of a tractor-trailer. Usually my comment to them is, do you have any case file photographs? Do you have any police photographs? Because I want to it's not good business to waste someone's money. I don't want to drive 4 hours to see this type of vehicle because I know I can't do a McSAP on it. So whenever you hire someone to do a McSAP inspection, try your best to give that person a good picture of what he's looking towards. Does the tractor have power? That's big when we do downloads. Is the trailer connected to the tractor trailer? So we know if it's not, we need to bring compressors with us. So do your best to be able to give them the full picture that they're doing to save your money and do a good job. I was hired one time. I'd pull this up. That goes back to what I'm saying about sending a photograph. I asked the guy for a photograph of a tractor. He said he didn't have any. Don't worry, I want to hire you anyway. Go see it. And when I wanted to tell you, all right, this is what was left of the tractor, he met me there and said, I want an inspection. And I turned and looked at him and said, I have no idea how to do it. I mean, everything's just, the brake lines are melted. It's just too catastrophically damaged to reach any kind of reasonable degree of certainty conclusions. Let's go back to these federal rules. When you look at federal rules, someone was asking me, how do I know what's a rule or not? You can go on to the federal, just go onto an internet, www.fmcsia.org. You can see in this area 391, that's kind of where it starts, 392.9. You can even type a search engine, but that's really where it starts to talk about inspection of cargo, pre-trip inspections, keeping driving logs, inspections, repair, and maintenance. You have to keep things up to date and inspect it. Oh, we didn't miss no video there? Oh, bummer. This one, I usually show at every CLE, and I'll tell you what happens is this person's talking with his friend in the car, and there's a video of it because his friend is taking a video for Twitter or some internet thing, and he starts dancing backwards doing the jig. And he dances and he dances and he dances and he dances right back into an intersection, and he's hit by an ice cream truck. And my statement is that some collision scenarios are either so reckless or so unusual that we tend to kind of disregard them. Keep an open mind when you talk to people, witnesses and people involved in cases. If you have scenarios that seem, I do a motorcycle pedestrian one where I show videos of just reckless, crazy behavior. Some people do that. So just keep in mind that that's definitely a possibility, and it may be a scenario where you see something go, that can't possibly. And an eyewitness said the guy was doing a jig crossing the road, got hit by an ice cream truck, we'd say there's no way. Okay. Any more questions?
Okay, and could the attendees please type the passcode into the Q&A once again? We only have time for about one question, but we will take the remaining questions and have Frank answer those for you. Okay, so our question is, do bus drivers' videos only show the inside and outside views from the bus, or do they provide any information such as speeds or distance traveled leading up to the point of impact?
They show the inside and they show some of the outside. The way you would calculate the speed is since they're time-stamped, the videos, if you have, just do 2 telephone poles. If you have the bus is at a telephone pole at 00, and he reaches the other telephone pole in 1.2 seconds, someone does a scene inspection, knows how much that distance is from one pole to the other, knows he did it in 1.2 seconds, they can tell you what the speed would be of the bus. But in general, it's the bus pictures are not like the drive cam pictures like I showed you in tractor trailers.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. If you have any questions for me following up, you can contact me through the TASA organization or contact me directly. But I want to thank you for attending, and I hope it was helpful.
Okay. And in addition to being your best source for testifying and consulting experts, TASA also offers e-discovery and forensic solutions, free interactive webinars, cybersecurity services, day-in-the-life videos, and research reports on expert witnesses, such as the Challenge History Report 2.0, the Professional Sanction Search, and the Expert Profile 360. I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for attending, and most especially Frank Costanzo for his time and effort in creating this presentation. If you would like to speak with Mr. Costanzo, or if you would like to speak with a TASA representative regarding expert witness for a case you are working on, please contact TASA at 1-800-523-2319. Thank you again for attending, and have a great day, everyone. This concludes our program for today.
Thank you.